Despite Washington's warnings, Israel is proceeding with its operation in Rafah. According to residents, Israeli forces bombarded many areas on Thursday. An airstrike on 2 houses killed at least 12 people. Prime Minister Netanyahu has dismissed U.S. President Joe Biden's threat to withhold weapons from Israel if it assaults the southern Gaza city. He said Israel will fight with fingernails if it has to. Here's a detailed report.
U.S. President Joe Biden publicly vowed for the first time on Wednesday to stop giving Israel weapons if its forces make a full-scale invasion of Rafah, a city packed with refugees fleeing the war elsewhere in Gaza. In an interview with CNN, Biden said, quote, "I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons." He acknowledged in the interview that American bombs provided to Israel have killed civilians in the 7-month-old offensive in Gaza, which came in response to Hamas's attack on October the 7th. The comments are the president's strongest public language to date and underscore a growing rift between the U.S. and its closest Middle Eastern ally. The interview was aired hours after Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin confirmed to the Senate that the U.S. had at least temporarily paused a planned delivery of thousands of heavy bombs, and that Biden made the decision to hold on the weapons over concerns for Rafah. That marks the first such delay since the U.S. administration pledged ironclad support to Israel.
You have to protect the people, the civilians in the battle space. Otherwise, you create more terrorists going forward.
The United States is by far Israel's biggest supplier of weapons, with Congress last month approving $26 billion in extra funding for the country. Biden said the U.S. would continue to provide defensive weapons, including for Israel's Iron Dome anti-missile system. But referring to civilian casualties, he added, "It's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and artillery shells." The president is under growing pressure at home over American support for Israel as he runs for re-election this year. There was no immediate comment from Israel on Biden's remarks, but Israeli authorities have insisted Rafah must be hit, saying thousands of Hamas fighters are there. Its forces have continued tank and aerial strikes on southern Gaza after moving in on Tuesday via the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, which cut off a vital aid route.
And for more on this, we were earlier joined by Hino Klink, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia. Listen in to what he had to say.
Well, there's certainly some dependency, if you will, on American defense industry to supply Israel with certain types of weapons. I am confident in saying that the Israeli Defense Forces probably have enough stocks to last them for quite some time, based on the war stocks that they have accumulated over the years. And of course, the Israeli government has to demonstrate strength and its commitment to finishing the job that was forced upon them on October 7th when Hamas attacked. So this is also, I believe, a part of the Israeli negotiating strategy to get Hamas to free the hostages as part and parcel of a ceasefire. They have to maintain the military pressure on Hamas in order to have Hamas make concessions. Because remember, we're talking about a ceasefire. We very rarely, and this is very unfortunate in my view, talk about the plight of the Israeli hostages. And when one considers that what has become public in the last several days as word of the counter proposal that Hamas presented, Hamas is actually now admitting that the total number of hostages, how many of them are still alive, is frankly in dispute. And this is, I think, something very serious for all of us to consider.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.